I think that the general theme of my speech was this corrupt merger of state and corporate power, which is turning our country into a corporate kleptocracy, into a system of socialism for the rich, and this kind of a cushy socialism for the rich, and this kind of brutal, merciless capitalism for the poor. Americans care about the underdog. They care about that kind of suffering. But the question is, why are we in the Ukraine? Because Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, said that we're there to exhaust the Russians. President Biden has said that we're there to deplatform, to depose Vladimir Putin. And if that's why we're there, and we're killing a lot of Ukrainians as pawns in a proxy war between two great powers. Here's one last thing I would say. Nobody talks about this. There's 14,000 Ukrainian civilians who have died, but 300,000 troops. The Russians are killing Ukrainians at a 7-to-1 to 8-to-1 ratio. They cannot sustain this. What we're being told about this war is just not true.
Is any news organization you know of so corrupt that it's willing to hurt you on behalf of its biggest advertisers? Anyone who do that is obviously Pablo Escobar level corrupt and should not be trusted. What would that look like? That level of corruption.
Several days later.
We should note that during our conversation, Kennedy made false claims about the COVID-19 vaccines. We've used our editorial judgment in not including extended portions of that exchange in our interview. We thank Mr. Kennedy for the conversation.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I got to tell you guys, this interview right here that I'm about to show you guys later on in this video, not right now, but later on in the video, between RFK and ABC News is a prime example of why Tucker Carlson was the most important figure in mainstream legacy media, because he was the only journalist that was willing to challenge the establishment narrative. He was the only one, okay? And again, interviews like this is exactly what I'm talking about, okay? And we're going to talk about this interview with RFK and ABC News that is going viral, because it really does show you how the corporate media establishment is in bed with the government, okay, and the government's agenda, right? So much so to the point where they will openly censor a presidential candidate because he's not going along with the government and the consensus from corporate America in regards to what you're allowed to believe and what you're not allowed to believe. Now, also what's going on here is that the establishment is trying to protect the Democrat Party, okay? Because Robert Kennedy Jr. is catching Joe Biden in the polls rapidly, okay? We're not even in debate season or heavy into the presidential primary season yet, and Robert F. Kennedy is already polling at 19%. Now, last time I did a video about this, it was a couple days ago. He was polling at like 14, 15%. He's gained 4 points in just a few days because his message is spreading like wildfire. He is simultaneously running to the left and the right of Joe Biden. And I think that the Democrats are scared shitless. They do not want Robert F. Kennedy on stage with Joe Biden. I mean, if you need proof and evidence, I mean, just look at the smear campaign here that they're running against the guy. They're saying that RFK Jr. is backed by Steve Bannon and other far-right figures. He's a spoiler candidate who Republicans hope will be an agent of chaos and help Trump. And he likes to parrot Putin talking points about Ukraine, right? So again, this is the smear. You guys already see what's going on here, okay? This is how it's shaping up. We've seen this playbook before. And Democrat Party voters are actually pissed, okay? Progressives, liberals, they're pissed because they ain't really feeling Joe Biden like that, okay? The only reason Joe Biden got elected is because we have an epidemic of people in this country with Trump derangement syndrome, right? They hate Trump so much that they decided to vote for Biden, and then they voted for the disaster that we currently have in this country and abroad as well, too, with foreign policy. But again, you do have some celebrities like Charlamagne the God and Joe Rogan who are expressing displeasure with the DNC for undemocratically canceling the debates or the DNC debates even though Joe Biden has a viable and legitimate opponent that is challenging him for the Democrat Party nomination. Take a look.
Running again?
Joe Biden, man, Biden. If you, listen, when you start your video off saying whatever, you put out your statement and it says, "Fucking, you're in condition to run."
Get out of here, bro. Democrats are goofies, bro. Look how goofy y'all are. Y'all really judge Trump and people who like Trump when you got this motherfucker running again?
You want to hear it? What did he say?
Freedom.
Oh, Jesus.
Personal freedom is fundamental to who we are as Americans.
There's nothing more important, nothing more sacred.
That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy.
Americans in shambles. I don't give a fuck what he said.
To protect our rights, to make sure that everyone in this country is treated equally and that everyone is given a fair shot at
I'm not listening to 3 minutes of this shit, yo. The world is in shambles.
You know, around the country.
Aren't you embarrassed to be a Democrat?
America is in shambles. I'm not a Democrat.
So, yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy.
I'm not a Republican either.
Yeah, boy.
I'm nothing.
Yeah, I'm not saying you got to be a Republican.
I'm just out here.
What about you, Chris? You like Biden? You voting for Biden again?
I think we could use a fresh new person on the
That's
seat.
why it's whacked that the DNC won't let nobody They won't do no primaries next year, man. Do a fucking primary debate. Put Joe Biden up on that stage with Bobby Kennedy, who's challenging him, and Marianne Williamson, and whoever steps up to the plate, and let's have a fucking discussion, yo.
Well, the fascinating thing is they will not allow, for the primaries, they're not going to allow debates.
Oh, they don't want to let RFK on a stage with Biden.
Yeah.
RFK will rip that old man up.
And then imagine if his voice was good.
It's really a shame.
It is a shame.
It's really... The job is really a speaking tour.
Yeah.
And it's a real issue that he has issues speaking, but
he did have surgery recently and it's better than it was before.
Is it better?
Yeah.
But he's an interesting guy in a lot of ways. And I know people will say because he was a vaccine skeptic way before the COVID vaccine. He's been a skeptic of vaccines in general. And a lot of people say that's like, oh, this is a conspiracy theory or it's too far. But, that argument after COVID is really much weaker than it used to be. Because people are actually like, yeah, I'm listening now.
Yes.
Now I'm actually kind of listening to that guy.
It seems like there's a playbook, and you guys have been following this playbook forever.
Yes. And I got his speech, his announcement speech last week. He spoke for over an hour, and I mean, it was really fantastic. I don't agree with everything the guy says, but the major theme of his speech was that there is this unholy alliance of big business and big government, and they're working together to screw over the American people. And damned if anyone can argue that that's not true.
Yeah, it's 100% true, right? It is obvious, okay? It is obvious that there is an alliance between big government and big business. And yeah, for the most part, the people that lose are people like me and you, right? The average everyday American citizen, because at the end of the day, it's all about money, power, and control. And the way that you accumulate those things is to make sure that you are controlling the narrative. And anybody that challenges the narrative, make sure that they get smeared and discredited as some type of crackpot conspiracy theorist, and you censor them. Just like ABC News censored RFK Jr. for not having state and corporate approved opinions on vaccines in this interview right here, in which, again, they're going to smear RFK. They're going to talk about how his family doesn't want him to run, basically discouraging him from actively running against their Lord and Savior, Joe Biden, while also at the same time, again, censoring his opinions on vaccines and then telling the American people, yeah, we shut this guy up, right? We're not letting him spew his opinions on our airways, okay? Because it's not corporate and state approved. Take a look.
Not seen any kind of scientific connection from the CDC, the World Health Organization, the National Academy of Sciences.
Those organizations are captive agencies, Lindsay.
And so you think they're all in cahoots?
Yeah, they're all captive.
You've discussed the Kennedy family as like any family. There are disagreements. But I think what makes it different here is that several of your relatives have not just said that they disagree with you, but they've called you dangerous. And as you're probably well aware, there were two of your siblings and a niece who wrote in a Politico article back in 2019. He's helped to spread dangerous misinformation over social media and is complicit in sowing distrust of science behind vaccines. We stand behind him in his ongoing fight to protect our environment. However, on vaccines, he's wrong. Your sister Carrie has said, I love my brother Bobby, but I do not share or endorse his opinions on many issues, including the COVID pandemic, vaccinations, and the role of social media platforms in policing false information. Your sister Rory has said, I admire his past work on it as an environmentalist. Because of him, we can swim in the Hudson, but due to a wide range of Bobby's positions, I'm supporting President Biden. I'm just curious, if you are not able to get your own sisters to vote for you for president, how would you make that appeal to American voters?
What is your family like? Do they agree with everything that you say and do?
They'd probably vote for me if I ran for president.
Yeah, well, I have siblings who will vote for me as well, but I have a big family, and many of them will not. We can disagree with each other without hating each other, without vilifying each other, without marginalizing each other.
I'm just making a distinction on just using your family's words, calling you dangerous. I was just using your family's words to call you dangerous rather than saying that's not like the typical family that might have disagreements around the kitchen room
table.
And
how do you expect me to respond to that other than saying they were wrong about the issue that they consider me dangerous?
Oh, that's a fair response. And my other point is just that if you don't regard the same scientific authorities.
Science is rarely static. There are very few scientific principles that are immovable. Science is dynamic. And, look, I've argued over I've litigated over 500 lawsuits. In every one of those lawsuits, there are experts, authorities on one side, and experts and authorities on the other that are saying the exact opposite thing. So no, I don't trust authority. I need to see the details. I need to see the science.
Your final pitch to voters.
My pitch would be that, we need to look at what's happened to our country. We need to try to arrest this emergence of corporatism, of the corrupt merger of state and corporate power that's undermining our values, that's strip mining our landscapes, that is stealing the assets of the middle class of this country, that is compromising the values of this country, that's keeping us in a constant state of war, and that is creating a nation that doesn't resemble the nation that we all love, which is a nation with a handful of billionaires and widespread poverty, in which democracy does not have a prayer of continuing. And let's try to take a new path that will allow us to give our children a country that is, once again, a moral authority around the globe, an exemplary nation, and that has a booming middle class in this country that can sustain democracy.
We should note that during our conversation, Kennedy made false claims about the COVID-19 vaccines. Data shows that the COVID-19 vaccines prevented millions of hospitalizations and deaths from the disease. He also made misleading claims about the relationship between vaccination and autism. Research shows that vaccines and the ingredients used for the vaccines do not cause autism, including multiple studies involving more than 1 million children and major medical associations like the American Academy of Pediatrics and the advocacy group Autism Speaks. We've used our editorial judgment and not including extended portions of that exchange in our interview. We thank Mr. Kennedy for the conversation.
Yeah, so I want y'all to understand just how insane this is. They have a presidential candidate come on an interview with them, and they say, hey, look, we don't agree with this guy's opinion. In fact, his opinion is dangerous. We're going to tell you that his family members think that his opinion is dangerous. We're not going to air his opinion, but we're going to tell you that his opinion is wrong. And we're not going to let him defend his opinion and his position. We're not going to let you guys actually hear both sides of the debate. And it's like, well, okay, if you're so sure that you're right on this subject, why are you not letting us hear his side of the debate? If he's such a crackpot, if he's such a kook, is it for the editorial board of ABC News to decide, or is it for the American people to decide? Apparently, you're too stupid, right, to decide for yourself what you want to believe in regards to this subject, and they have to make decisions for you. And this is after everybody saw what happened with the mainstream liberal narrative and the science of the COVID vaccine. Rachel Maddow went on air to her millions of viewers and said objectively what we know to be false statements about the efficacy and the effects of the COVID-19 vaccine. And these people are trying to lecture folks on what is right and what is wrong, what is the science and what's not the science, when clearly Just based off what we've seen with this pandemic, COVID, and the vaccine, science evolves over time. Something that's true today may be false tomorrow. Something that's false today may be true tomorrow. But the mainstream media, who wants to be the authority on what is scientifically accurate and what is not, okay, is trying to basically pretend like that's not a thing, right? That's not a thing. It's whatever we say in the moment is true, and you just have to accept that for what it is. Don't ask questions. Again, it's insane, right? It's absolutely insane. How can you smear a guy as dangerous and then say, hey, we're not going to actually air his opinions and we're going to tell you why he's wrong, but we're not going to actually let him defend himself? He's a presidential candidate. Again, this is how insane the media is. And this is why I said, guys, Tucker Carlson is so damn important, because it really does remind me of one of his better monologues that he gave before he was fired from Fox News. I mean, there's rumors that he's not actually fired, or he's not fired yet. But anyways, I want to play this monologue from Tucker Carlson, because I think it really does sum up what we're dealing with here in regards to the corporate media in the establishment. Take a look.
Well, here's one measure of their badness. You can try this at home. Ask yourself, is any news organization you know of so corrupt that it's willing to hurt you on behalf of its biggest advertisers? Anyone who do that is obviously Pablo Escobar level corrupt and should not be trusted. What would that look like? That level of corruption. Well, imagine that the Trump administration had made it mandatory for American citizens to buy MyPillow. That's one of Fox News' biggest advertisers. Imagine the administration declared that if you didn't rush out and buy at least one MyPillow and then at least another booster pillow, you would not be allowed to eat out. You couldn't re-enter your own country. You couldn't have a paying job. MyPillow, they told you with a straight face, was the very linchpin of our country's public health system. Now imagine, as they told you that Fox, as a news organization, endorsed it, amplified the government's message. Imagine if Fox News attacked anyone who refused to buy MyPillow as an ally of Russia, as an enemy of science. If Fox News did that, what would you think of Fox News? Would you trust us? Of course you wouldn't. You would know that we were liars. Thank heaven Fox News never did anything like that, but the other channels did. The other channels took hundreds of millions of dollars from big pharma companies, and then they shilled for their sketchy products on the air. And as they did that, they maligned anyone who was skeptical of those products. At the very least, this was a moral crime. It was disgusting, but it was universal. It happened across the American news media. They all did it. So at this point, the question isn't who in public life is corrupt, too many to count. The question is, who is telling the truth?
Yeah, probably one of Tucker's most important monologues that, again, I thought about when I saw this interview with ABC News and RFK Jr. And I said, look, man, you know, again, this is how crazy the censorship is. It's crazy. Like, it's insane, right? It's absolutely insane that, again, you simply can't state your opinion without being censored on behalf of the government and corporate America. Because, again, if RFK Jr. is wrong, okay, if the scientific evidence points to what the government and corporate America is pushing, then let's just have the battle of ideas play itself out and the American people can decide for themselves. But again, they think that you're too stupid, you're too dumb to come to your own decision about how you're supposed to feel about this stuff. So they do it for you, right? They do it for you. They don't even let a presidential candidate air his opinions, okay? Without telling you that, hey, his opinions are wrong, his opinions are dangerous, and by the way, we're not going to let you hear it. Right? We're not going to let you hear it. He's also an agent of Russia, right? He is pushing Putin talking points. Absolutely amazing stuff, man. This is where we're at. If you guys don't understand what's going on, this is what we're dealing with. It's incredible. The corruption is just, it's so deep that we can't even really begin to scratch the surface of it. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.